You are now listening to the RSL Show on KSL Sports, Utah's largest sports network. Your number one source for everything Real Salt Lake. Utah's number one rated Real Salt Lake podcast.
All right, welcome in. It's a brand new edition of the RSL Show here on the KSL Sports Network. I'm Alex Napoles. Joining me today, it's Carson Lantz. And Carson, life feels a little bit better when Real Salt Lake can get 3 points.
Yes, sir. It felt good to finally get a win versus LA Galaxy. And especially at home, it felt even better as well because it kind of felt like our home form has just been kind of just mid this year, especially for a team like Real Salt Lake where we usually thrive off of home field advantage.
I feel like form this year so far has been just pretty mid overall, but we'll get into that. First, I do want to kind of go back to a conversation that we had the last time we spoke, Carson. We talked a little bit about the ownership situation and kind of what we knew. There's been some updates from the ownership situation. We talked about it last week about how Tom Bogert said that the Millers were seriously in consideration to buy Real Salt Lake and take over as the ownership, but there's been some updates. Carson, fill us in.
Yeah, Alex, so it looks like the final details are being finalized, and it looks like it's close to being done. And one huge thing about this deal is that Ryan Smith will not be a part of the ownership group after this sale.
Interesting. I mean, we talked about it last week, whether it was concerning, whether we thought, there was some, whether or not to be worried that Blitzer and Smith were looking to move on after 2 years. But it looks like you mentioned, it's close, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the Miller family taking over. I mean, we never know what's going to happen when a new ownership takes over, and I'm just hoping good things come our way.
Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. And speaking of good things, there's been some rumblings of some signings potentially coming over. We finally get some news, and of course, some huge news that I think is going to have a big impact for Major League Soccer. And of course, I'm talking about Daniel Gazdag being traded to the Columbus Crew this morning.
Yeah, for cash, it seemed like. It wasn't even a player trade. It was for cash. And that's a huge pickup for Columbus Crew, especially after losing Cucho Hernandez to Real Betis. And they've been looking for an attacking midfielder / striker to replace him. And looks like that's going to be Gazdag.
Interesting for them to take that gamble on Gazdag. Good on Columbus to use the new cash rules that Major League Soccer implemented this offseason. And I'm interested to see how Philadelphia move on from Gazdag and how Columbus brings Gazdag into the team. Gazdag, phenomenal MLS player, was a big part of the reason why Philadelphia went to that 2022 MLS Cup final, and now he's joining Columbus. Definitely probably not the 9 that we thought that they were going to pick up, but a really, really, really good attacking player.
Yeah, I mean, already a proven MLS player, like you said, and then just to pair that with the likes of Rossi and Darlington Nagbe, Columbus, I feel like, just got even better.
Oh, yeah. The one that people really care about, though, is another report that came out earlier this morning about Robert Bosnick from Boa Vista coming over to Real Salt Lake as your DP9. Tom Bogert earlier this morning dropping a Bogert bomb on us, saying that the deal was in advanced talks. It was really close to being done. And Robert taking up a DP spot for Real Salt Lake, which he put in parentheses for now, at least, when it comes to the DP tag. And, of course, he adds, to the tweet, RSL working on multiple targets. So Real Salt Lake might not be done this transfer window. Look, we've talked about it a lot on the show. I like what I've seen from Ari Piola. I've liked, some of Forster Ajago, but Real Salt Lake need a true DP goal scorer, a true DP9, and now it looks like Real Salt Lake finally being close to bringing over the Slovakian forward in Robert Bosnick, again from Boa Vista in Portugal.
Yeah, it looks like he has He's 25 years old, has 23 goals and 5 assists for Boavista. And a nice little fact about him, he was a key player in Slovakia's successful Euro 2024 qualification campaign. And then I don't know how I feel about him being a DP, but no, I'm willing to be patient and see how he pans out because, we picked up Diogo Gonçalves and he hasn't panned out. And so I'm a little nervous to bring another guy over that we don't really know about and is not really MLS proven and somewhat European proven. But I'm willing to be patient with this guy. He looks like he's a decent player. He's 25 years old. I'm excited to see some competition at the 9.
And much needed competition at the 9 for Real Salt Lake, for sure. I think that one of the biggest things that's missing from this squad and one of the biggest things that's missing from this piece of the puzzle is that forward, that 9, that goal scorer who can just come in and has that knack for finding the back of the net. And hopefully, potentially, we can find that in Robert Bozanic.
Yeah, now, I like his name.
There is concern. I've seen it online already. There is concern that, one, he's not a big name, and I mean that's perfectly fine. Real Salt Lake never goes for big names. I think the biggest name that Real Salt Lake has ever brought in was probably Chicho when they brought him in, and only 4 goals this season so far for Boavista, but I mean, I don't expect a lot of people to follow the Portuguese league, but Boavista this season has been a really bad team. Yeah. And I think when you look at the highlights, when you look at the film, while the stats might not show it, and the stats might not, the goal scoring stats anyway might not show it, I think this is a Robert who is probably the best player on a really, really bad Boavista team. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, Boavista have been kind of on the downfall for a little bit now. Like, they had all that drama with Reggie Cannon back then,
man.
Getting unpaid wages, and then him going to keep QPR and now at Colorado. And it just seems, I mean, it doesn't seem like this is like Bosnick wants out type of move where he's like, hey, I'm tired of you guys. Like, let me go to Real Salt Lake. It kind of seems like Real Salt Lake's been looking at him for a while now, and he's intrigued by the move. And so I'm interested in seeing what happens.
I like, of course, the fact that at the end of the tweet, and if you go through and read the article, it says that Real Salt Lake is still working on more targets. Multiple targets are the exact words from the article and from the tweet that, before that Real Salt Lake is trying to bring in more before the end of the transfer window. And I think that is a really good sign for RSL fans. And I think, of course, a really good signs for the front office and for everybody who wants a little bit more in the attack for Real Salt Lake. And we're seeing what we hope is the first piece of the puzzle finally falling for Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, and look, at one time in RSL history, it felt like we never were scouting players at one point. Like, we always had like one player and we're like, hey, like, we want that guy. But now it seems like we have about a couple guys lined up. So say Bosnick falls through, then we have a backup guy for that. And then if that one falls through, we have another one. Like, we have I'm going to give props to our scouting department right now, but it seems like we're putting some serious work in to just we're finding the right guys for this club. We're not just picking out any random guy that we're like, all right, that guy has good stats, let's get him in.
We talk about multiple targets, and there is one official signing that is over the line, and it's not necessarily a Real Salt Lake move, but it is a Monarchs move, and the Real Monarchs signed a 20-year-old Colombian who can play across the front. He can play as a winger, he can play at the 10, he can play as a striker, and now he's making his way from the Colombian league to the Real Monarchs, and that's Bryune Sandoval. And I think that bodes well for Real Salt Lake, because this is probably a guy that they were scouting for either the first team or to come in at the Monarchs level. Obviously, he's signed at the Monarchs level, but that bodes well and gives you good confidence that there are multiple guys that this club is looking at and looking to potentially bring in. With
a guy like that coming in, Alex, I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm gonna put it out there. I feel like Dominic Markchuk is being looked at right now, and they're preparing for
Oh,
him
no
to
doubt.
leave.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, you would think
Uh,
it's Diego Luna, but no, I think it's Dominic Markchuk.
I think,
It might
and
be
I have.
both. Might be
I
both.
was about. That's exactly what I was about to say. I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything concrete. I haven't seen anything concrete. But I mean, and we'll get into Luna's performance here in just a moment. But after the performance we saw from Diego Luna, obviously Dominic Marchuk has been a guy who's consistently being called up to the Polish national team. So while we talked about Dominic's form kind of taking a dip last week, that's still you're still going to get eyes from the international level on a guy like Dominic because he's young, he has high potential, and he's becoming a consistent call-up. Maybe not right now a consistent player that's consistently playing international minutes, but at least a consistent call-up for the Polish national team.
Yeah, I mean, he has all the potential in the world, and I'm not surprised if teams in Europe are looking at him right now and are like, "Hey, they see that potential, and they might want to cash in and hope for the best in the future." He's a good future prophet, I feel like.
What's going on with Kevin De Bruyne?
There's a lot of things going on with Kevin De Bruyne. Apparently, San Diego doesn't own his rights anymore, and Miami somehow picked those up. So,
I think, first of all, weird that San Diego was like, we talked about how their hot start last week, and for them to kind of turn around and be like, and basically talking about, their want for Kevin De Bruyne to come and join San Diego in the summer, basically the whole winter, right? That's all we saw. That it was Kevin De Bruyne and San Diego and Kevin De Bruyne being linked, and now all of a sudden San Diego has a good start to the season, and they're like, hey, maybe we don't need De Bruyne. And so they probably traded away the rights to De Bruyne to Inter Miami, who now apparently hold the discovery rights to De Bruyne.
that's so wild. Like, both of it's not like Miami and San Diego are both fairly new teams, like with San Diego obviously being the newer one. But it's kind of funny how you can just pass around those discovery rights like that and just be like, hey, like we own this player. Like if they ever come here, they're ours. Like if you guys want him, you got to get these discovery rights from him. I've never understood that at all.
It makes zero sense. And me and Josh have had conversations about the discovery rights and how much we very much dislike them. And it's a really outdated MLS rule that just needs to be moved on from. But Inter Miami have the rights, and there's already talks about, oh, well, maybe they buy down one of their DPs and he comes in the summer. Oh, maybe they, do this and have an open DP spot, or maybe they sign him on a short-term deal like a Gareth Bale, like a Zlatan, and they bring him on and then they figure it out in the winter. Come on, man.
I know. It sounds like heck, but hey, man, I bet that's gonna bring in so much money for the MLS. I can see the MLS.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Stepping in.
There's no doubt.
Like, yeah, like why? Who wouldn't want to play with Messi though?
Yeah.
De Bruyne's been at City forever, and I guarantee you, Messi's probably one of his favorite players. Like, who wouldn't want to play with Messi in a city like Miami, in a league like the MLS? And the MLS is gonna treat you really good. Like everyone's gonna fan over you. Everyone knows who you are if they keep up with soccer here.
I'm going to be really, really curious to see, of course, what he decides to do, because the reports too coming out earlier this week are saying that he has offers to stay in Europe. He has offers to go to Saudi and take some Saudi money. But so one, I'm very interested to see what Kevin De Bruyne decides to do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm curious to see the reaction from every other team and every other fan base if Inter Miami does secure the signature of Kevin De Bruyne, and he's a Inter Miami player this summer.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like De Bruyne kind of is going to have the same thought process as Messi did when he was at that point. I don't think he's going to go. I don't think he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. I think some players are avoiding that area, and I can see him going back to Belgium to his boyhood club. I think is Genk, and then or like Wolfsburg in Bundesliga for like a season. But I think MLS is a really intriguing league right now for guys like Kevin De Bruyne. They're aging, but like they still have the legs to play. And I think if he were to come to the MLS, he would dominate pretty good. And and they would pay him probably really good as well. And so I don't see why he wouldn't come here.
Again, I'm interested to see what happens, man. We'll probably find out in the next month or two whether or not he decides to come to Major League Soccer. And again, really curious to see how teams react if Inter Miami does end up with Kevin De Bruyne. A little bit more positive, and on the Real Salt Lake side, Diego Luna, after his amazing performance against the Galaxy, makes Team of the Match Day and is one of the Young Players of the Week in Major League Soccer. Some awards heading over to Diego Luna after his phenomenal, again, performance against the LA Galaxy. And let's jump into that performance, Carson. Real Salt Lake wins it at home 2-0 against the LA Galaxy. Rafa Cabral starts in goal. You remember that conversation we had last week about the defense?
Yep.
Well, here we go. Bodie Hidalgo starts at right back. Justin Glad in the center alongside Brian Vera and Alex Catranis over on the left. To me, that is Real Salt Lake's best four right now.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. I think we were kind of being like, hey, like we need a Hidalgo or just someone else on that right back spot other than Quinton. And then we obviously, I feel like everyone feels the same way about Catranis. Like Catranis needs to be starting.
Mecanelli in the midfield alongside Brian Ojeda, Dominic Marchuk, Diego Luna, Diogo Gonçalves, and Ari Piol back from suspension. He gets the start. Interesting note that I found out right before the game started. And I mean, obviously we get Ari Piol back into the starting lineup after that suspension, but no Ajago on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Ajago made the trip south with the Monarchs to play that game against Ventura County in St. George. And I found that really interesting.
Makes you just wonder, like, what... I mean, because, like, Kurt Schmidt and co. have gone out of their way to praise Ajago a lot and saying, like, they've been looking at him for a while. But it makes you think, okay, what's going on? Are we about to get a new striker or something? Or is he not, like, training up to the standards he needs to be? But if a new striker is coming in, I don't mind having those three guys, Bosnick, Piol, and Ajago. I think that's a great front. Like that's a great group right there of strikers to have. Great depth pieces. Piol coming off the bench, and then if Piol or Bosnick's hurt, then you have Ajago as that third guy to step in. I think that's. I feel like we haven't seen that deep of a striker group in a long time. Although Piol and Ajago are unproven still, I still feel like we haven't had that depth at striker in a while.
Would you rather take that, or would you rather take a Chicho Julio from last season?
Come on, man. Chicho Julio. Come on.
Yeah. It's something important, too, to note. There are 23 guys fighting for 20 spots right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's match day limits. You can only have 20 players on your match day sheet. And so there's 23 guys fighting for 20 spots. I'm sure the Ajago situation was just happened, so then that way he could get some playing time and not have to be a healthy scratch, basically. Like Javane Brown was. Javane Brown was a healthy scratch. He unavailable against the LA Galaxy. And then you have Kobe Henry, who had to sit out dealing with some hamstring issues. I went to training on Friday and saw that Henry was kind of on the side, kind of doing things by himself and kind of conditioning by himself, dealing with a hamstring. So the Ajago and the Javane Brown exclusion kind of came as a surprise to me, but at the same time didn't, because again, those spots there's just not enough spots right now for the match on the match day roster, which is a good problem to have, Carson.
Yeah. Never a bad problem to have guys competing for that spot. You don't ever want professional players getting comfortable with their spot they have. There always needs to be that competition atmosphere at the club. No one get comfortable. There's always someone coming for your spot.
Rotated LA Galaxy in this one. We mentioned it last week too, Carson. They played on Tuesday. They had this game in Sandy on Saturday, and then they had to go to Mexico and play the CONCACAF Champions Cup game against Tigres again on Tuesday. And so a little bit more of a rotated lineup from the LA Galaxy, but a good start from Real Salt Lake. Good start from both sides, honestly. There was some good passing sequences from Real Salt Lake in the early goings. And I got to point out Alex Catranis, the way he was linking up with the attack, the way that him and Luna were connecting, and the way that, I said it in the show last week, Carson, where was that attacking team that we saw against San Diego and against Seattle? I think we finally saw it again against the Galaxy.
Yeah, about dang time. You got Luna played the 10.
Right.
And did phenomenal, obviously. If you look at the scoreboard, you see what Luna did. Markchuk did good. Piol looked, I think, did pretty decent as well. I feel like our strikers really aren't giving that service still to put balls in the back of the net. I think the only bad thing about our front four was just, Diego Gonçalves, our DP.
18th minute, man. Ball over the top. Piol does a good job to bring it down. Settles it off to Luna at the center circle. Luna plays the ball, breaks the line over the top. Diogo's in, one-on-one with McCarthy. And what does he do, Carson?
Misses the goal completely.
Puts it in row Z, man.
That just seems like a guy that's really lacking confidence right now. I feel like he does good on the ball and then pretty decent off the ball, but his final third production has just been awful with his time at RSL. It's you can just tell watching the guy. That guy is lacking in confidence finishing the ball right now.
I think there's a lot of good things that he does do.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, his on the ball work is pretty good. I think the link up play between him and in the attack has been better.
Yeah.
I still think he struggles to track back and really get the press going, really get the defensive tracking going. And then, of course, we've seen him in front of goal, and it hasn't been pretty.
I think Gonçalves thinks that his time at RSL probably would have been different. He came in and it seemed like him and Chicho were buddies, and then all of a sudden Chicho's gone, and so now he's in this position where it's okay, why did I come here again? I bet he has a reason to be here because we wanted him, but it's kind of, I feel like if I were him, I'd be okay, what was I doing here again? Was it because I was here for Chicho? Because that's my friend. We grew up playing at Benfica, and so he just it kind of seems like Gonçalves is lost right now. I don't feel like he knows what he wants to do, but he knows he wants to be playing ball.
Does he make up for it for you a little bit later? A minute later?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
A minute later, Diogo gets the ball on the left wing, plays it into Catranis. Him and Catranis have a nice little link-up play. He takes a heavy touch, is able to bring it down nicely, and holds up the ball really well. Gives enough time for Catranis to find some space in the box, plays the ball well to Catranis. Catranis squares it across the face of goal to find Diego Luna inside the box. Luna puts it into the back of the net, and it's 1-0 Real Salt Lake. Diego Luna, man.
Yeah. Lights are bright and Luna's shining. That's what he's good at.
Luna has been really, really good since taking the mask off.
Yeah.
He's back to being Luna after, not having to play with that face mask after the nose injury with the U.S. men's national team this summer. Phenomenal play by Alex Catranis. Again, man. That's what we've been missing the last couple of games. Truly, is that play on that left wing to create that space and to be able to put dangerous balls into the box. Alex Catranis basically setting up that first goal for Diego Luna, and I just don't think you see that from Sam Junka, man.
No, and once again, I feel like everyone sees that. I'm not going to keep bashing on Junka, though, but he's just not the player that Catranis is. Catranis has that aura. He has that impact on the field. And, he's not afraid to tackle. He's not afraid to get in someone's face and talk crap. And he came on, he started versus the LA Galaxy and gets an instant impact just like that. I sent out a tweet and I was like, interesting, Catranis assist.
Crazy what happens when you play Alex Catranis, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. Diego Luna puts it in. It's 1-0. 5 minutes later, again, Catranis starts the attack, plays the ball into Ari Piol. Piol does a good job to cross it into the box. Zenka, the new LA Galaxy center back, is there. Horrible touch. Absolute horrible touch from a defensive standpoint and from the Zenka standpoint. Just made a complete mess of that situation.
Yeah, I mean, defender's worst nightmare. It seemed like he was under pressure and didn't know what to do with it. In worst case scenario,
literally the last thing you can do and the worst thing you could be doing is doing exactly what he did. He left it right there in front for Luna. Amazing heads up play from Diego Luna to to be aware, to have that heads up play and slot that ball past McCarthy. It's 2-0 Real Salt Lake 5 minutes later, and we're feeling good, Carson.
Yeah. I mean, Diego Luna just seems like he has a knack of being in the right place at the right time. And McCarthy, man, seems like his form from last year, really impressive year he had last year to now, has just taken a huge dip.
I think you can say that about the entire Galaxy defense.
Yeah, we could probably go on and on about that. Galaxy being the reigning champs and not having the players to prove that.
Yeah,
it's sad, but if Real Salt Lake's winning, I don't care.
A couple of other good opportunities in that first half from both sides. Galaxy had a shot, and then Real Salt Lake continued to keep their foot on the gas. But then you head to the halftime break. It's 2-0. We're feeling good. And nothing really happens in that second half.
No, Pablo Mascheroni, the team, took their foot off the pedal, and I wish we would have gotten a couple more. We could have made the Galaxy look a lot worse with a better scoreline. I feel like we could at least put like 3 more past them and just dug them a grave in Sandy, and they would have never came back from that.
I think the message at the halftime was really clear from the coaching staff, and that was just sit back and make sure that you secure what you have now. You have the 3 points. You hold on to that. And you can kind of tell by the way that second half played out that both teams just kind of wanted to get out of there. Real Salt Lake wanted to get out of there, get the 3 points, and finish off the game with a win. The Galaxy, it was really clear that 2-0 down, they wanted no part of this game. They wanted to get on the plane and head to Mexico and move on from Real Salt Lake. That second half was very lackluster. It hit a big lull, man. It hit a really big lull.
And, it's kind of fair from the Galaxy, though, from a schedule standpoint and rotation. Yeah. They were probably valuing that game versus Tigres more than our game. Yeah. Which is totally fair. Like, I don't blame them at all. But, it just seemed... you said the coaching staff message was to sit back and let's just get this result. And we did do just that. After struggling at defense for a while, I'm really proud of our defense to step up and hold that shutout for Cabral. Cabral's needed a shutout. He's been so good this season, and he needs a game where he gets a clean sheet. And I think Glad and Vera stepped up that game and looked a lot better.
Brian Vera got a yellow card in the second minute of the game, too.
Hey,
Played,
and he didn't get another one.
and he didn't get another one.
Yeah.
Props to Brian Vera, man.
Yeah, impressive.
I did like what I saw from the substitutes in this one. I thought Gozo came on and provided a little bit of a spark. So did Tyler Wolff. I thought Tyler Wolff had a pretty decent game. The one I want to focus on specifically, though, is the one that everybody's talking about, including Pablo Mastroeni, is Jesus Barea.
Yes.
And probably a big reason as to why Ajago was in St. George and not with Real Salt Lake on Saturday.
Look, Barrera seems like he's training good. He seems like he's warming up to MLS life pretty well. He's a hard worker on the field. Like he has nothing to lose. He has everything to gain.
Well, and right now he has everything to prove too.
Yeah.
He's playing for his spot.
Yeah, and if Ajago or whoever's competing with him isn't stepping up and beating him out, yeah, get in there, Barrera. You just at Missouri State, NCAA school, and you're coming to Real Salt Lake. I just love stories like that, man, and I'm really proud with that draft pick, and hopefully he continues to develop and becomes a great player for Real Salt Lake.
Me and Josh, we had our Anelli watch, which was going to be the next guy to step up from the draft and kind of break through the way that Emeka Anelli did, and we picked Jesus Barea. And so far, I mean, he's stepping up to him. Very limited sample size of hasn't played the most minutes, but the minutes that he has gotten, he's been making the most of them, man. And Pablo Mastroeni even went as far as in the post-game press conference to say that, Barea is going to be a really good player, and we'll be seeing a lot more of Jesus as he continues to impress in every single training.
Yeah, and then you were also talking about Gozo as well. He made a little cameo again. And I really want to see more minutes from Gozo as well. He's given us glimpses of what he can do, but I want to see like 90 minutes, 45 minutes of what Gozo could do for us. Because he's really young. He gets called up to the under-20 national team for the United States. He obviously has that potential, but I want to see him prove it to us fans.
And I think that's kind of what they're doing right now with Gozo, right? We've seen like you mentioned, we've seen a couple of games now with cameos from Xavier Gozo. He's come on and he's provided little bits of sparks, and I think that's exactly what you want to see from an 18-year-old who's going to try to make his 18, who's now going to try to make his name in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I think he's 17, but I think he turns 18 soon. But I mean, you can never go wrong with a homegrown player actually getting playing time for their team. And he's from Utah as well. He's from Eagle Mountain.
Local guy.
Yeah, and if this guy pans out, he's gonna have a lot of people cheering for him. He has everything he needs to be a great player. He's good technically. He's very quick. He's built. I think he probably has another growth spurt in him or not. So I don't think he's done growing as well. Like he has everything athletic wise, technicability wise, to be a great player for Real Salt Lake and have a great career. So I'm excited to see what he does. He was on trial at Salzburg not too long ago as well. So Salzburg is looking at him. So let's see what happens with Gozo.
So let me ask you this, Carson. You put on your coaching hat. You're the head coach. You're Pablo Mastroeni. It's the 60th minute in a match. You're down 1-0. And you need a little bit more on the wing. You need to provide a little bit more of a spark on the wing. And you got your three options. You got Tyler Wolff, you got Xavier Gozo, and you got Lachlan Brook. Who do you bring on?
Lachlan Brook. I think it's pretty like what you need to say. Bring on one guy, or
you have to sub in one guy to play on the wing.
Okay, I'm gonna say
which one are you picking?
I'm bringing on Lachlan. Bringing on Lockley. Yeah. I just feel like he's come on a couple times this season, and he's been a difference maker.
Yeah.
He's created chances. He's shot, he's created chances for himself. And I feel like Lachlan is a better player than both Tyler Wolff and Xavier Gozo.
I only asked that, and I only bring it up because, obviously that was a big conversation we had last week where we talked about Lachlan Brook. And, there was questions from us about him not making it onto the pitch earlier in the season. Again, we don't see Lachlan Brook in this one, but I think, you're up 2-0. Perfect. It's a perfect opportunity to see Xavier Gozo. And like I said, I bring it up because I think that right now Real Salt Lake is in a really good spot when it comes to its wingers. You have Luna, you have Gonsalves, you have Mark Juk, and then on the bench you have Wolf, Gozo, and Lachlan Brook, who can all sub in and have done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler Wolf, I feel like he's just like a good role player. He's kind of like that Chang type of player for us, and I think maybe even a little bit better than Chang as well. And then Gozo can play wing and striker, and so I feel like it's always nice to have a guy like that who can play wherever you need him to play up front. And then same with Lachlan Brook. I think Lachlan can play wing and attacking mid, and so we have a lot of depth pieces right now. I think Tyler Wolf can also do that as well.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can't complain about any of them. I just think I'm a little biased towards – I would say I'm a little bit more biased towards Lachlan Brook and Xavier Gozo than I am towards Tyler Wolf.
There you go, man. All right. Now, we're happy. You get the 3 points at home. Does this result for Real Salt Lake happen? We're playing a little devil's advocate here, right? Does the performance from Real Salt Lake on Saturday, is it enough for 3 points against a fully healthy LA Galaxy?
Whoa, you're putting me on the spot here.
It's a good question.
I don't think so, no. You get a healthy Paintsel. Well, I think Paintsel made a little cameo, right? Did he start?
He played it. Yeah, he started. He played 58 minutes in this one.
I think you get a Paintsel in there with Gabriel Peck.
Peck did not play.
Yeah, and so he didn't play. Who else didn't play? Marco Royce didn't play. Like, a lot of guys did not play in that game, and I think you get Ricky Puge is healthy as well. I think LA Galaxy's really good when they're healthy. And yeah. I think if they were healthy, that would have been a way much closer game than a 2-0 result.
I bring it up because, like I said, while I'm happy about the 3 points, and I hate to bring this up because, I mean, you just won. You just got 3 points. But, sitting off in the second half the way that they did, you want to see the team keep their foot on the gas even a little bit. It wasn't the most stellar performance, in my opinion, from Real Salt Lake, but it's enough for the 3, and I think that's all you can ask for in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if LA Galaxy has a guy like Ricky Puge and Marco Royce and Gabriel Peck, and they try to play that way versus them, no, we're not holding that 2-0 lead. They're probably going to either tie it up or get 3 on us.
I can't remember who, but somebody sent us a DM on Instagram and said, or maybe they commented on one of the videos, I don't know. But they said that they can hear Josh's voice in their head right now saying that 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in soccer. And I thought that was really funny.
I say that all the time as well. And I agree with Josh.
It is. And I mean, going in at the halftime break, you're up 2-0. And while I'm happy about the results, and while I'm happy about the 2 goals, there is a little part of me that is a little bit concerned because Real Salt Lake had their defensive issues coming into this one. And there was questions for me whether or not Real Salt Lake could hold the lead. Obviously, they do. Paintsel subbed off in the 58th minute. To me, that seemed like Real Salt Lake or the LA Galaxy was kind of waving that white flag. And again, just saying, hey, we're done. We want out. We got another game on Tuesday coming up, and Real Salt Lake do enough to hold on.
Yeah. I'm just happy to get 3 points.
There you go, man.
I mean, how many more games do they have until 10 games, and then me and Josh and you can
3 more.
3 more. I'm excited.
More.
I'm excited for that episode. I'm excited.
This is game 7 for Real Salt Lake.
Man, it feels weird not having Josh around, though. I bet he's enjoying life in Manchester, though. I mean, who wouldn't be, right?
I feel kind of bad for him, man. He went to the Manchester Derby and didn't even see a goal, dude.
He went all the way across the pond just to see a 0-0 draw, bro. That's like the worst case scenario ever
Yeah,
of,
I feel
of going to Europe.
I feel kind of bad. You know, he didn't even see a goal, but I know Josh, and I know that he probably had the time of his life anyway.
Yeah.
So we're happy for him, man.
Who would complain about getting to watch a game at Old Trafford? Like, come
There
on.
you go.
And it might not be around for much longer as well.
Taking a look at the rest of the results around Major League Soccer, Charlotte with a 2-1 win over Real Salt Lake's next opponent in Nashville. Real Salt Lake with that 2-0 win over the LA Galaxy. Atlanta United with a 1-1 draw against FC Dallas. Columbus with a 2-1 win over Montreal. Cincinnati with a 1-0 win over the New England Revolution. 2-1 win for the Red Bulls over Chicago. 0-0 draw between Orlando and Philadelphia. A 0-0 draw between Austin and Portland. A 1-0 win for the Houston Dynamo over LAFC. Sporting Kansas City, 2-0 winners over St. Louis City. Vancouver with a 2-0 win over the Colorado Rapids. San Diego putting up 3 on the Seattle Sounders. Minnesota with a 2-1 win over New York City FC. How about the Earthquakes? A 6-1 burger over DC United. And then Inter Miami and Toronto play to a 1-1 draw. Those are the scores from this weekend. I think the biggest one that stands out to me has to be the 6-1 win over San Jose, or 6-1 win for San Jose over DC United.
I mean, yeah, that scoreline's pretty big. And then Joseph Martinez got a hat trick as well.
The most hat tricks now for Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that as well. But I really think did you watch the Miami game at all?
I did, yeah.
I thought that was a really good game because Toronto's not been good at all this season.
No.
And that goal from Bernardeschi was he showed off some tech right there. And that was a good goal.
I think as far as Toronto goes, man, I think it is so messed up that Insigne is just holding this franchise, the entire Toronto franchise, hostage because for some weird reason he just wants to sit there and make money and doesn't care to play, man.
Is he actually that bad?
No, he's a really good player. Okay. For some reason, it just hasn't translated here to MLS play, and I think, honestly, from an outside perspective, it just seems like he just doesn't want to be there, and just hasn't really cared to put the effort in to be the Insigne that dominated Europe with Napoli for a minute there.
Yeah, just looking at his stats with Napoli, he had a pretty good run of form with Napoli. Like he was
on that Italy team that won the Euros, man.
Yeah, he was good. I remember him, but it looked like when at Napoli, he had like 7 seasons in a row where he hit double digits in goals. And
yeah, man, that's what I'm saying.
He hasn't hit double digits in goals in the MLS at all.
Toronto refuses to waste the money on his buyout and then bring in another DP. And so he's literally just sitting there on this massive DP contract, and he's just basically holding this Toronto franchise hostage because he had offers from Europe per, Tom Bogert and them. He had offers to go back to Europe, and he refused them all because he's just happy sitting there and collecting his checks, man.
Yeah.
And Toronto refuses to pay the buyout.
And like a guy like Bernardeschi, he's been perfectly fine. He's had some of his best career years at Toronto.
Yeah. Like
last year was like stat wise, it was his second best career year. And I've heard Bernardeschi's always been that guy that came off the bench for teams, and now he's a starter in the MLS, and he's a hard worker. He was an all-star last year.
Yeah.
For the Toronto, and yeah, I can't go around there, but I don't know what's going on with Insigne. He did good against Miami this last week, but got an assist, but he's just like, you can't just be showing up for Miami and being like, hey, like, David Beckham, come get me. I want to go to Miami.
And then, yeah, man, I know a few weeks ago I said that Toronto FC was probably the worst team in Major League Soccer, but I take that back. I think it's Montreal. I found out this week that Montreal haven't spent money on a true DP in a decade, bro.
What?
all their DPs that they've gotten in the last couple of years have been either like through trades, through like young talent that they've brought up, but they haven't spent money on a true DP in a decade.
That franchise is cooked. Oh my gosh.
I take it back. Montreal is the worst team in Major League Soccer.
I kind of feel bad for going at Real Salt Lake and getting us a DP. Like, we could be on the Montreal's level. And
yeah, as soon as I saw that stat, I was like, dude, no freaking way. I can't complain about DPs anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain anymore. That's sad.
Do you happen to catch the Charlotte Nashville game?
Oh, I watched a little bit of it. Didn't. I'm trying to remember, because I've been trying to keep up with Charlotte a lot this year to watch Wilfried Zaha. Yeah, I really like Wilfried Zaha. Okay, it was the morning game. Yeah, it's the one where Charlotte came back in like last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they had a goal called back earlier in the game too.
Yeah.
Charlotte ends up winning that one 2-1. They take the 3 points. I bring it up because, one, Walker Zimmerman took an absolute brutal hit to the face, and we hope that he's okay. We wish him a speedy recovery. But I also bring it up because that's Real Salt Lake's next opponent in Nashville, coming off a loss to Charlotte, and now we'll host Real Salt Lake this weekend, man.
Yeah, we're coming for Nashville, man. And I want 3 points in Nashville. We're coming for that.
A much better team than they were last season.
Yeah.
As far as Nashville goes, last season they had their struggles. They were off to a hot start this season, coming off 2 straight losses. Now they host Real Salt Lake, and I told myself that I was going to go through and figure out Real Salt Lake's record when they travel east, when they travel to the East Coast, because I feel like historically the East Coast has not been kind to Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, we hate East Coast games. I don't remember the last time we were good at them.
The ones that stand out right off the top of my head, 4-0 to New York City FC in the Bronx, that 2022 season. And yeah, I don't know. Just historically, it seems like Real Salt Lake struggles when they travel east.
The last East game I can think of was when Tate Schmidt was here and he scored that game winner versus New England Revolution in the snow.
See, but that was in the snow. We like the snow games. We don't like the East games.
Yeah.
Like I said, as far as Nashville goes, they started off the season with a loss to the Red Bulls. They came back, won 3 straight, including a wild match against the Philadelphia Union. And then now back-to-back losses for Nashville. They'll host Real Salt Lake this Saturday, 6:30 at Geodis Park. Real Salt Lake and Nashville, short history, haven't played each other too much. They are 3 matches played between the two sides. A 0-0 draw for Real Salt Lake and Nashville here at America First Field, a 2-1 win for Real Salt Lake here at America First Field, and then a 2-0 loss on the road at Geodis Park on May 22nd. And that was the last time Real Salt Lake played Nashville. Do you remember the goal scorers in that one, Carson?
What'd you say what year it was?
2022.
I'm gonna say like Demir Krylock.
No, Real Salt Lake lost 2-0.
So it was what? It was probably like Mukhtar. I don't even know, dude. Nashville.
It was Dave Romney and CJ Sapong.
Oh, okay. CJ Sapong and Dave Romney. Okay, wow. Both those guys aren't there anymore, right?
No. I think Sapong's retired. And yeah, I think Sapong's retired and Romney's at San Jose.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, but that's the last time Real Salt Lake played at Nashville. I think this is a team that, again, has played a lot better under BJ Callahan.
Yeah.
You might recognize that name because that was the guy who was the interim U.S. men's national team coach for a second there. BJ Callahan took over at Nashville. Hani Mukhtar, he's definitely not the Hani Mukhtar of MVP conversations, right? This isn't the Hani Mukhtar and the Nashville that went to the Leagues Cup final in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very different Nashville who I think is still trying to find out the best Nashville under BJ Callahan. And, I mean, they've played a lot better. Taxeth in the midfield has been good. Their new Swedish signing in Quasim has been good. I think Sturridge, their striker, their 9 that they brought in last season, Sam Sturridge hasn't been the best player for Nashville, but he can still bag goals. As far as I think this matchup goes on Saturday for Real Salt Lake, I think it's important to, one, contain Hani Mukhtar. And if you can contain Hani Mukhtar, you got a pretty good shot at getting a positive result in Nashville.
Yeah, just don't let Sam Sturridge beat you in the air.
Hey, yo.
Hello, Philip Quinton. If he plays, I don't think he's gonna, because Bodie Hodago's doing pretty good, and hopefully he can stay healthy.
I do think that, I mean, we didn't really see too many aerial threats from the Galaxy on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I think that we did see a much solid performance defensively from Real Salt Lake on Saturday, and so I hope that can carry into this Nashville game, and Real Salt Lake can come away with a positive result. Carson, to wrap things up, man, predictions. How you feeling about this trip to Nashville?
I'm feeling pretty confident. Maybe I'm feeling a little too confident because I was about to just drop like a 4-1 result in Nashville, and I just know that's not going to be probably the case because we still don't have a goal scorer up top. But I'm gonna give a 1-0 win RSL.
I think for me, I think Real Salt Lake will be able to bag some goals. I think for Nashville, Zimmerman's a miss for them. Not having Walker Zimmerman hurts the Nashville team defensively, so I do think Real Salt Lake bags goals in this one. However, I do look at trends. I do believe in some game trends and some historical trends, and so when you look at Nashville coming off 2 straight losses, when you look at historically eastern side of the country that Real Salt Lake hasn't been the best in, I'm going to give the edge to Nashville, and I'm going to say 2-1 Nashville beats Real Salt Lake on Saturday.
Hey, okay. Hey, if your prediction's wrong, man, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, you can come after me. Absolutely.
I like the optimism though. Like you're preparing to be disappointed.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to look at it. I'm preparing for the worst, hoping for the best.
Nothing's wrong with that.
How about that?
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake Nashville this Saturday, 6:30. Catch it on MLS Season Pass, Apple TV, and whatnot. Also hit up some watch parties. Go out, have some fun with this one, and go support Real Salt Lake the best way that you can. Carson, any last things you want to add before we wrap this one up?
I mean, you said hit up some watch parties. Whenever Real Salt Lake's not in town, usually the Real Monarchs are in town or the Utah Royals. So I know it can be sad when Real Salt Lake's not around, but let's go out and support our other teams we have around here. Utah Royals they have a pretty decent squad this year, but they can't compete with Kansas City, but we don't talk about that. Real Monarchs have a nice young team as well. I think a lot of people should try to go out and support them. We got a lot of good academy players and homegrown and draft picks, and then that new guy, Sandoval from Colombia, to watch out for. But, hey, what's great result versus LA Galaxy. Hopefully we can keep that form in Nashville, and talk to you guys next week.
As Carson mentioned, Friday night, the Royals take on the Portland Thorns. That one kicks off at 8 p.m. So head out to America First Field this weekend. Go support the Royals. Go support the Monarchs. Support Real Salt Lake. And that's going to do it for us here on the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. Don't forget to go like. Don't forget to go subscribe. Don't forget to go do what you have to do to follow the RSL Show for the best RSL content. We'll talk to you guys next week, hopefully with Josh back and after this Nashville game.